welcome to Aussie Kenya Talk Show. This is yet another show. Aussie Kenya Talk Show, we connect, we engage, educate, and inspire. So, welcome, Peter, once more again to our studios today.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Yes, so how have you been?
Yeah, it's been good. Ever since our last chat, I've been continuing on with running the law practice with my business partner and talking to people and having inquiries and dealing with all the business owner stuff.
Yes, thank you. So today we have Peter once more, and today we're going to discuss about wealth creation here in Australia, in Melbourne, and also structures we can put in place for wealth creation. So Peter, tell us why. Let's refresh a little bit. Why can you tell our viewers why is it very important to be able to engage lawyers first in terms of wealth creation?
So first off, the thing I'll say is about understanding what wealth creation and wealth management is.
Yes.
When it comes to wealth, what's important is understanding that it's three things. It's acquisition,
Yes.
it's management, and it's preservation.
Yeah.
So what you find with a lot of people is they're very good at their craft and doing their work and their business and making money.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different ball game when you're trying to think about, which structures should I use to manage the wealth effectively and preserve it for the long term.
Yes.
Especially if you're someone who wants to pass it on to future generations.
Okay.
And so that's where our wealth management side comes in, is about what are the right structures for people to use given where they are to actually put those things in place.
Yeah.
And so, and in this area, it's what we do is give legal advice, right? And so when it comes to some of these things, there's certain aspects that require financial advice.
Yes.
And so for us, the preference is always, if somebody has a financial advisor that we can work with and talk to,
Yes.
or if they're like, oh, can you refer me to somebody that you might know, then we can do that. Because we can't go and give you financial advice about certain things,
Yeah.
But we can always give you legal advice. And so it's one of those things where they work together very closely.
Yes.
And so I'd always encourage somebody, if you're thinking about some of these things, it's worth speaking not just to us, but
Yes.
also someone who's a qualified, registered financial advisor.
Yes.
And they can help with the process, yeah.
Oh, good, oh, good. So, as we dig deeper in wealth creation, in terms of the structures,
Yeah.
I think there's something that's especially for immigrant community to know, and even for any other person to learn and understand which structures are there, how can people engage, and in terms of how where do they start?
So so there's 5 main areas I wanted to touch on today. So that's family trusts, self-managed super funds or SMSF.
Yes.
Then estate planning, which is like wills and powers of attorney.
Yes.
Binding financial agreements, which people refer to sometimes as prenups.
Yes.
And also loan agreements.
Yes.
Those are the 5 key things that we implement in our wealth management practice.
Yes.
And so if I just go, because they all serve different functions, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just about picking what's appropriate for you at the time and what meets your needs and sort of helps you with those broader goals.
Yes.
And so the common one that people hear a lot about that we'll start off with is your family trust. So for people who don't know, they're like, what is a family trust and everything, right?
Yeah.
The simplest way to explain it is just a relationship. It's a relationship where you have party A, let's say, who's a trustee, and they'll hold an asset for somebody else, right? And so a typical example is, if you set up a family trust to hold a house,
Yes.
right? So the reason why they're so in favor when it comes to wealth creation and planning and management is that what they provide you a few advantages. So for example, one is legal protection.
Yeah.
So let's say you're somebody who owns a business and you operate a business, and so you do things like borrow money and all of this.
Yes.
So obviously when you're running, depending on what type of business you run, there's often a risk that something could go wrong or a customer might not be happy or whatever. And so let's just say you get sued. If you have assets in your personal name, then when things go wrong in your business or whatever else, then what that means is you can actually be required to sell these assets to pay back the debts.
Yeah.
So let's say you run a business over here doing something, and then you've got a couple of houses or whatever in your own name. Because you are the owner of the house, they'll be like, well, you need to pay back the money that the business owes, or if you got sued by a client and you have to pay, or a customer, and then you have to sell the houses to pay back the debts. But obviously that's not ideal. So when you have a trust, what it allows you to do is you can say, you know, I don't personally own the asset. It's owned by this other thing called the family trust.
Okay.
And so that means that when things do go wrong in other areas, you know, assuming other laws have been complied with and things are in order, then you should know and have some peace of mind that it's all safe.
Yes.
And so that's one of the biggest things. The other one is tax efficiency as well, because saving on tax where you can is a big thing for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And so family trusts allow you to, you know, just because the concept is you can put, let's say as an example, there's a mom and dad and they've got, let's say 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
And they can set up a family trust that includes the 5 of them as beneficiaries,
Yes.
right? And so what they can do is essentially is choose who you distribute money to in the family trusts, and then you just figure out what's the most tax efficient way to distribute money, especially like if there's a business or something
Yeah.
where money is coming from. And obviously that's where you need to get your like accounting and financial advice about the way you can do that, but that's essentially the basis of how it works.
Yes.
And that's why they're very much in favor with a lot of people is that ability to, we call it income streaming.
Yes.
So you choose who you stream income to save on taxes and that type of thing, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And so there are many people who use this way of or this kind of structure to be able to manage. How does it help in terms of family financial legal battles? Is there any benefit that comes in? Because I believe we've seen a lot of people who come and fight for family wealth and
Yeah.
stuff like. How does it help?
So the problem is, you know, once it's there and the family members know there's the family trust and stuff, sometimes people can, if they're not happy with what they've been getting, then they can try and attack it and say, you know, I should be getting more or something like that. But typically, if it's all set up the right way, then essentially the way they work is, let's say you have one child in the family who's like, I should be getting more out of the family trust, and they try to bring that up as an issue, you know, if it's all been set up the right way, then typically what would happen is, you know, we'll be like, you know, you are allowed to be considered to be given something, but you don't have to be given something. That's not the way the rules work.
Yeah.
And there was a case that occurred over the last couple of years where this became an issue, and the court was saying, no, what you get under a family trust is the right to be considered, to say, oh, can you at least think about giving me something?
Yes.
But you don't have an automatic right to get something just because you want it yet.
Yeah.
And so where that's also important is it intersects with other things, like for example, when people are going through, like, let's say someone's married and they're going through a divorce,
Yes.
a separation, and you know, there's that whole issue of having to share assets with the person you're breaking up with.
Yeah.
But if you already had like your family trust and there's assets in there with your family, then that makes them a bit safer from the ex-partner being able to take them.
Yes.
And so that's also another reason why people really think they're a big benefit, yeah, from a legal battle perspective.
Yeah, that's very important because I believe and I've seen that there are people who get into a relationship with some intentions.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this is a good structure for people to understand how it works.
Yeah.
And people, even before getting to marriage, they need to understand how the structure of the
Yeah.
wealth,
Yeah.
they agree to it or they don't agree to it, so they can be able to know what they are signing into.
Exactly, because you know, at the end of the day, what this really is all about is recognizing that people have worked hard,
Yes.
and their families have worked hard to acquire wealth and assets,
Yes.
and it's just about making sure that, you know, that's protected as best you can. Yeah. Which I understand that a part of it requires some difficult conversations, but I think it's better to have the difficult conversations and save the stress and the headaches later down the track.
Yeah. And do you think, for example, immigrants understand, a lot of immigrants, do you think they engage or they understand this form of structures?
We're starting to, but I think it's these structures are something that we do need a lot more awareness around.
Yeah.
Like when we've been speaking to people about these things, they're showing a lot of interest in the family trust, especially.
Yeah.
And I think what makes it tough is that we come from, like, at least as an African, we come from a culture where some of these things are not necessarily talked about.
Yeah.
And like one of the other wealth management tools is prenups, for example, right?
Yes.
We call them binding financial agreements. And so those are things that we sometimes come from a culture where you don't talk about when you're getting into relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's just about, you know, learning how they operate, what the benefits are, and what they're really trying to protect.
Maybe we can go deeper into prenups.
Uh,
Tell us more about prenups.
so basically, so people call them prenups, as in nuptials, like when you get married, right? But you can really do it before or after you're married.
Yes.
So essentially what happens is you would get your lawyer and your spouse would get their lawyer, and then you guys would basically come to an agreement about if our relationship doesn't work out, who keeps what. And so, for example, it's very important where, let's say, you're a young man or woman, or you've been doing your own business or acquiring your own assets and stuff in the past before you get into a marriage. And so you're walking into the relationship and you might have a bit of money behind you, right?
Yeah.
That you've worked to acquire. And so you're just thinking about, well, I want to get into the relationship, but if it doesn't work out, how do I protect those assets that I already had from beforehand?
Yes.
And so it basically allows you guys to make your own rules about what happens. And I think that's really the benefit of it, is you don't want to just leave it like, undiscussed, and then you're getting the rules made for you. So it allows you to make the rules for yourself.
Yeah, I think this is a very hard discussion for people to be able to get into, because I've had it somewhere else, and people think you're not trusting them,
Yeah.
you're not serious in a relationship, why should I have a prenup? But I think, as you put it, some people feel that, why should I sign? Then why should I get married with?
I don't think it's about trust, it's just about reflecting somebody's hard work and what they've worked to acquire, right? Like, and if you look at nowadays, there's a lot more of blended families, right?
Yeah.
So someone has kids from before, and then they get married to somebody who might have kids of their own,
Yeah.
and then they may or may not have children together.
Yes.
So that makes everything complex, right? About, well, if we're coming into the marriage, we've each got kids, so how do we do this? Like, what's our rules for how this operates if things don't work? Because obviously you might acquire some things together.
Yes.
So you might have your own stuff before, the other person will have their own stuff before, and you might buy some more assets together. And so how do you also manage that? Because that's also about, thinking about your kids, so the concept of your estate planning, your wills.
Yeah.
Well, what happens, what do my pre-existing kids get? What do the children we have together, what do they get?
Yeah.
What does my spouse's kids get that they had before?
Oh, good. Our viewers, as you can hear, we still continue understanding more about this wealth structure and creation, and I think it's a very important as viewers to be able to think about those structures along the way and ask the experts.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, Peter. So which other structure? You say there was the first one. There is
The family trust.
the family trust. There was the prenup
Yep.
that you have discussed, and then
So the other one's the super funds, your estate planning and loan agreements. Yeah.
that's mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's super funds. Some people might know them as self-managed super or SMSF.
Yes.
It's something that's becoming a big thing in Australia.
Yeah.
Basically, it's where, like, because you'll start working and then you'll be paying super into like a super account, right? So you
Yeah.
might be with Australian super or whichever fund. And so what Australia allows you to do is it allows you to basically take that money and then you set up your own fund, and then you can manage the money yourself and invest it and everything.
Yeah.
So it just gives you a bit more control over your retirement savings and your planning.
So do you mean the current structure? If, for example, my super is someone else,
Yeah.
what are the benefits and what are the advantages of that?
So of doing the self-managed.
Yes.
So the main thing that people like about it is, so there's two things. One is you get to pour money together, so you have more money working for you. So it's very common, for example, between a couple or family members, so you can all pool it together. So like, let's say, back to our example of mum, dad, and two kids. Let's say the two kids are both working, right?
Yeah.
So what that allows them to do is, let's say, everyone's got their own account with Australian Super. What you guys can do is basically take all your money out and then combine it into the one super fund. And then you can invest it as a group and manage it. So you have more money that you guys can use. And so it gives you options in terms of what you can do, because there's certain investments you can make under the super fund rules, which is like, a common one is residential property. You can buy investment properties through there as well, which the big funds don't do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, sorry?
And for example, if I withdraw the money that I have in a certain super fund
Yeah.
to go and do my trust, my super
Yeah.
fund, um, is there money that is gonna be left there, or is there a cost that comes when I'm taking out that money from my main super to the?
So it just depends on your super fund and talking to them, because you basically have to send a request to them to release the money.
Yeah.
But the only thing I would point out when it comes to leaving money there is that sometimes what happens is when you're with a big super fund, you have insurance. You might have insurance, like whether it's income protection insurance or whatever it might be. And so what people should think about is, let's say you have $100,000 in there, right? And you want to do this self-managed super and take it out. What I would say is just think about, and again, this is where the financial advisors come in and can help, is if you take all of it out, then what you might do is you might void your insurance without realizing. So
Yeah.
what some people do is they'll leave a little bit so that their account stays open, so that they have the insurance to keep going. Because the good thing about the big funds like Australian Super and everything is that when it comes to things like insurance, they can get them a little bit cheaper because they're so big. So they can, and they've got, many members, so they can get it for a little bit cheaper. So you just want to think about those sorts of things, like, okay, I might not move the whole 100K, I might move 90 or 95 or whatever it is, and leave a little bit in there so I can keep my insurance policy going, so I
Yeah.
don't cancel it. Because if you just move the money out, you can just cancel it without realizing.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's something I've never thought of. Yeah. So viewers, as you can hear, there is a lot that we can learn from Peter, and thanks a lot, Peter, for continuous coming to this show and educating the community. So, in terms of that super, so if I get that super
Yeah.
and we pull it together, do you mean that money we can use it to invest?
Yeah, exactly. So what some people do is they'll use it to get investment property,
Yeah.
or what they'll also use it like, you can invest in other things like whether it's shares, stock market and everything like that. You can still do that, but I'm seeing a lot of people use it to purchase some investment property. Could be residential and you put some tenants, or it could be like a commercial property, and because there's other also tax advantages where, like, if you operate a business, essentially what some people do is they'll use their super fund to buy the office, and then they'll lease the office to their business. So then when they're operating their business, they're paying rent
Yes.
to the landlord, which is your super. So you're paying the rent into your own super fund. So you end up helping yourself build it up that way, instead of paying rent to another landlord.
Oh, that's
Yeah. So that's common. Where they use it for commercial property,
Yeah.
for their business.
That's good. Which other structure?
We also have loan agreements. That's the other fund.
Yeah.
So like where this comes up is sometimes parents might be thinking about let's say giving money to their children or something, like let's say to buy a house as a deposit, or the money for the house. So it's just more having a conversation to ask them, whether you just want to give the money as a gift, or should we just do a loan agreement?
Yes.
Because then what that also protects is things like, so here's an example. So let's say you've got a son who's getting married, right? And then you give them some money to buy their house. If you just gifted it to them and then they might unfortunately have a split with their partner, right? And then the whole question about selling the house and sharing the proceeds comes along, right? So then their spouse might also get something out of it.
Yeah.
And then some parents wouldn't be upset about it. They'd be like, well, we paid for the money for the house, so what can we do about it? So that's where people put in place loan agreements. So that way, like, if anything happens, then the money gets paid back.
Yes.
And then they might split the profit or the other money outside of that, but you know that you've got your money back from before the relationship, the divorce finalizes and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it's just about thinking about, with what we want to achieve, is it best to do it as a loan for some other reasons or as a gift? Because then at least it allows you to protect the parents and the children, depending on what happens in their future as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. That's very insightful. In terms of understanding, sometimes you take things for granted,
Yeah.
trusts,
Yeah.
but things down the line don't go well,
Yeah.
and people are left without anything.
Yeah, it's just about having these conversations, right? Which is why I like to talk to people about everything that's going on in their life and what these other things are like. Like, if parents are like, oh, I want to do this for the kids, then I want to ask more questions.
Yeah.
Because then when you ask questions about somebody's life as a whole, then you might find out where there's some gaps about things we can do to better protect them and the situation.
Yeah, that's good. Viewers, that's very interesting. Welcome again to Aussie Kenya Talk Show as we continue hearing and understanding more about wealth creation and wealth structures as per the Australian law.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is there any other structures?
The only other thing that I've mentioned is the estate planning. That's important, and I know that as an African, that's something that a lot of our people don't like to talk about.
What is that?
Estate planning, so like your wills.
Estate planning.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen that a lot of people don't like talking about it, but it's very important to protecting wealth, because that's all about how you pass it on. You know.
Yeah.
And there's different ways you can pass it on, but you need to get your wills done, your powers of attorney, things like that.
When should someone do a will?
I think everyone should just have one. Like, people have this perception that, I should only do one when I'm old, or maybe I need to become rich first before I do a will because I don't have anything to give. But it goes just beyond that. It's more about the process in place when you pass away. So if you have a will, it sets up clear instructions for what happens when you're gone. But if you don't, then it means you have passed away in what's called intestacy, which is basically a word that means there's a different process that happens. And that process can be a lot more confusing and take more time and stressful for people.
Yeah.
Because what you're also having to think about is when you're doing contracts in life, employment contracts, business contracts, everything, leases, whatever, you're alive and everything's going fine when you're doing those things, but wills, it becomes important when you're not here.
Yeah.
And you're no longer here to now tell people what you want. Right?
You're gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the least you can do is leave instructions for what happens, right? And it just makes everything easier for everyone, because, your loved ones will be very stressed, they're grieving, and then now they're trying to figure out how to navigate this process. And I remember maybe about a month and a half, 2 months ago, it was very sad. I spoke with this one fella who, he called and said, basically, my wife passed away 2 months ago.
Yes.
And she didn't have a will.
Yes.
And I've got a 2-month-old baby.
Yeah.
And he was very stressed, and rightly so. I understood why he was not feeling great, and I just really felt bad for him, because it's a very confusing time, because now they have to go through that other process where it's less clear and it's a lot more stressful.
So this I'm talking from things that have been happening in our community.
Yeah.
We have seen students who come here and things happen. They get sick, they pass away.
Yeah.
Or even things happen like suicide, and unknown cause of death. And I think this is a very important thing.
It is.
As even students who are coming here to Australia, international students, to understand the importance of a will.
Yeah, it's just all about putting your affairs in order, right?
Yeah.
Is just, I think you're never too, you can't say I'll wait until I'm old and then I'll do it, but because you really with life, you never know. And, there's the whole aspect of wills, but there's also things like your powers of attorney. Like if you get into a situation where you can't make decisions for yourself, who does that?
Yeah.
And so you can get them for medical things or financial things. It's just about, again, instructions, like who can make my decisions? Is that one of your parents? Is it a sibling? Is it a spouse? Is it a friend? Is it a child?
Yeah.
It's, it's important to talk about these things. Right? Yeah, I understand it's scary.
Yeah.
Right? It is confronting when you think about, what happens when I'm not here? Or what happens when I can't make decisions for myself?
And you can keep on updating your will as you grow, and also as you expand your territory in terms of your children.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's very good as viewers not to be ignorant about will. It's not about calling death early.
No.
It's about planning, just like as you said, we have contracts with various employers, businesses. It's also good to have that contract that talks about how you can be able to, in case of something happens.
Yeah.
Because all of us at one time or another will have to depart from this earth.
Yeah, we have to. Nobody can cheat that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So students, guys, you can reach to Peter anytime for more advice in terms of how can you be able to write a will. Maybe the student asks themselves, what do I like in the will? What do I have?
Yeah.
But at least they have something that they can talk about. Super.
Yeah, because
or even decision making in case someone is in the hospital. And
Yeah, because with wills, right? Like, so somebody asked a good question when I was presenting somewhere, and they said, you know, like, what's the process if I decide to, you know, buy something else, and I've already written my will? It can be as general or as specific as you want. So basically, it could be as simple as saying, you know, when I pass away, everything I have goes to my 2 kids 50-50, right? And so even if you buy another house or another 10 houses, or you buy, you have some businesses or some more money or whatever, then it's just going to follow that rule, right?
Yeah.
That everything you have gets given to your kids 50-50 as a simple form. Or you could decide, oh, you know, I've got 4 children, I want to give this one this house, give this one this house, give this one this car, and then the rest gets split, whatever.
Yeah.
You can be as specific or as general as you want. And so if you're someone who's sitting there thinking, I don't have a whole lot of assets that I want to give, but I do want to do a will, then you can just make it a bit more general.
Yeah.
And just be like, okay, where I'm at now, what does that look like? So is it everything will just go to my parents and my siblings? Okay, fine. And then after a couple of years, like you said, you need to update them every, I think it's about every 3 to 5 years, and especially as your circumstances change. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if you get married, if you have children, you want to keep updating, and then, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Our viewers, that is very, very educational and inspiring to understand that the will is very important. And I think these are sessions that we continue having
Yeah.
and educating our community here in Australia and back at home,
Yeah.
in different parts of this world where we come from. And I think it's very important for us as a community also to be able to accept the systems that are here,
Yeah, exactly.
be able to see how we navigate these systems,
Yeah.
and be able to look at the benefits of these systems. Can someone be able to include people in the will who are outside?
Outside the country?
Yes.
Yeah, you can include whoever you do want to have. And obviously that's helpful, because nowadays we live in an age where you might put down your kids, and then by the time it comes to pass, then they're living all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So you can include whoever you want, regardless of where they are. Now, there might be just like other consequences like tax and all this other stuff that to consider, but you can include them. And the other thing that's also relevant for our African community is where, like, you know, let's say parents come overseas here to Australia, but they've already got assets back home. And then they might have some assets here.
Yeah.
And so that's a question that's come up, because people have asked, like, oh, can the will that I do here, can it also include like the stuff back home?
Yes.
And I thought, oh, that's actually a very good question. So what essentially happens is you can approach it 2 ways. One is you prepare your will here, and then you can take it to some lawyers back home, which I would advise at the least as a bare minimum.
Yes.
And just be like, this is my will, can you get it validated here? So whether that might be like notarizing it over there or something, or registering it with the court in your home country, or you can just get a separate will done for your estate back home, like your property back home, and then one for Australia.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to address both, and at least think about it, because sometimes people think, oh, if I have one here, then it's fine,
Yeah.
but it might not necessarily be accepted back home, because it's a different legal system, right? So they might have their own requirements. For example, like in Australia, if you're doing a will, they say, you know, to make it valid, it has to be witnessed by 2 people.
Yes.
Has to be witnessed by 2 people, they have to be there when you sign, and they have to use the same pen or something like that. So it's very, very
Wow.
specific, yeah.
Pen.
Yeah, so like when you sign, they have to use the same pen that you signed with.
Ah.
Yeah, and they have to be there when you're doing it, right? And so the other country might have different requirements, right? And so if you don't meet the requirements, then it might cause some issues. So I'd say at the least you'd want to make sure that it's done here fine, but at least have some communication or something with the lawyers back home to make sure that it's okay,
Yeah.
or just do a separate one if you think it's just easier and more efficient.
That's good. That's good. That's a very exciting, yeah. And also, I believe that there are people who are in Australia, for example, buying property outside Australia.
Yeah.
Maybe they are back their home countries.
Yeah.
So the will they can write here, as you said, can also be notarized and be used back at home.
Yeah, so a lot of countries you should be able to get them to notarize it
Yeah.
or something so that it can be recognized there. Yeah, like I spoke with there's a lawyer I know who I talk to about things back home in Zimbabwe, and when I was speaking with her, she said that would get the Australian will, and then would take it to the magistrate's court or something like that, and then they'll stamp it there and that type of thing. They'll do their own process and validate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, okay, that's fine. So it means that sometimes you won't necessarily have to write a brand new one. So yeah, it's just good to just know exactly what their process is. Yeah.
Peter, as you were saying about the super fund, how would you like to elaborate more about the super fund, how people can use it?
So it's a very useful tool, right? Because it gives you that whole element of control and more options of what you can do.
Yes.
But I think it is an area where people do need advice, right? Because when I've spoken to people about this previously, they would say questions, for example, like, oh, so can I, take the money out and put it back and stuff? And
Back to the main super.
yeah, like if, for example, if I set up my own super fund,
Yes.
because you get a bank account and access to the money,
Yes.
because you get to control it, right? So some people are like, oh, can I just take some out and put it back later? And I'm like, no, the rules are very strict. Because the key thing people need to understand is all the other rules about when you can access your super are the same. Like, even if it's with one of the big super funds or your own, there's still rules around, you have to reach this age or these circumstances, then you can get the money.
Yes.
Those things don't change.
Yes.
So sometimes people might think, oh, it's an easier way for me to access my super early. You can't do that, and the government is very serious when people
But
try to do that.
Right now, in my super with a big company,
Yeah.
can I use it for an investment?
Now, so what the big companies do is because basically they're the ones who manage it for you, right?
Yeah.
So they invest in certain things. So they'll invest in things like shares and all of that, but there's certain things they're not allowed to invest in. So when you open your own super fund, you get more options. For example, the whole residential like investment properties, because they don't do that. The big super funds, they don't do that.
All right.
Because they're managing money for so many people and the rules are very strict about what they can and cannot do.
Yes.
That they're not allowed to do some of those investments, and it's just sometimes not practical for them to do it. Like if it's such a big fund, let's say it's got thousands of members, it's very hard to do something like run an investment property.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of investments that they don't do. And so when you have your own super fund, you can actually do some of those things like investment property or buy the office for the business or that type of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, the main thing for people to understand is, once you set it up and you put the money into the account, you get access to it just like your internet banking,
Yes.
right? So, but that doesn't mean you can just go and take it out and use it and stuff. You have to be very disciplined and make
Yes.
sure that you don't do that. Because if you do some of those things,
Yeah.
because there's sometimes people who think, oh, if I take it and then I put it back later, it's okay.
Yes.
That's not allowed. That'll be a big problem.
Yes.
Because then you also have to get audited, and so your accounts get checked, and so if you're doing those things, you'll get caught, and then it has like legal consequences for you. So it's just explaining to people that even though you get to control the investments you can make and all of this, just remember that you still can't just access your money anyhow.
Yes.
You have to still follow a process. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But you can use it, as you said, for property growth and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Ah, all right.
And so it allows you to be more creative. Like recently I had someone reached out who was asking if I can give them legal advice because they want to use their super fund to buy property back home. And I was like, yeah, that I like that. That's very cool. Yeah.
So you can do that.
So I'm just going through the process of giving them the advice. So if I give the answer, then I'm useless.
Yes.
If I'm useless, you got to come to me and we'll have a chat about it. But it's good because it shows that people are thinking outside the square, right?
Yes.
Because, for example, like in Zimbabwe, right, you can get property for a lot cheaper than here, right? Because
Yes.
of the economy and everything.
Yeah.
So then you sit there and you're like, well, instead of buying like a property here, then if I can do it with the super and do it there and it's cheaper, then there's certain advantages to thinking that way. So yeah, it allows you for a bit of flexibility.
Yeah. That's something I didn't know. And I think we need also a super fund expert to come and give us more in depth
Yeah,
in
exactly.
those areas. But it's good that you have highlighted that way, and I think that is something, an option that people don't know.
Yeah.
There are people struggling maybe to understand more about some of these terminologies in terms of commercial law.
Yeah.
But I think it is important as a community to be able to have forums
Yeah.
and discussions
Yeah.
and be able to talk and empower
Mm.
people about these issues because they're important. And I think an empowered community is not an ignorant community.
Exactly, and it's good to have these conversations, you know, and again, this is where I think it's important to stress why it's important to have the right advisors, like your financial advisors.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as the lawyer, what I can do is, I can help you with these things and give you legal advice, and this is the correct way of doing it, and these are the rules and everything. But I can't go and tell you, oh, Michael, you should set up a super fund, right?
Yes.
Because that'll be giving financial advice, and I can't do that.
Yes.
So that's why it's always good to have a financial advisor in the picture, and we deal with your financial advisor and have conversations. And it might involve your accountant too, right?
Yes.
Because what people need to think about is, in terms of wealth creation and management, it's like you have to have a support system. Your support system could be your lawyer, could be your financial advisor and your accountant,
Yeah.
or could even be like your broker. And those people talking and working together makes things much easier and smoother for you, because it's sort of like having your own team that's doing it, right? And so
Yeah.
I think that's what's important, yeah.
All right. Coming back to family trust.
Yeah.
When is the best time to, for example, if you're buying land and property, when is the best time to set it up? Before, or when you're already in the process of?
So what I say here is that you typically want to do it after, if you're someone who wants to buy your first home, you want to buy your first home first and then have a trust. Or you can set up any time you want, right? But it's just about which assets are you going to buy in the trust. So what happens is, when you're buying your first home, you know, people want the first home owner's grant and all of that. If you want access to those government benefits, you have to buy in your own name, so you can't use the trust, because the trust won't be allowed to have the first home owner's grant and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if we do set it up, I'd say, well, if you're looking at buying a first home and you want to make use of those benefits and schemes, then we won't buy in the trust, you just buy it in your own name, right?
Yeah.
And then for your investment properties and things after that, then you can buy them inside the trust. Yeah.
Oh,
Because you don't want to miss out on the government benefits
Yes.
as well. Because, you know, you get the first homeowners grant, there's the stamp, they reduce your stamp duty as well, that kind of thing. And also the other time is if you're running a business or you want to open one, and then you set up the trust to be the thing that owns your business, you know what I mean? So that's another common one as well. So really, you can set it up at any point in time, but the question just becomes, which assets are you going to put inside the trust?
Yeah.
And so the other question that comes up here is, I've had people say, like, you know, oh, I've got 3 or 4 investment properties, can I set up the trust and put them in? And I say, no, unfortunately, if you do that, you're going to pay tax.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're selling
Your
the
property.
to the trust.
Oh.
Yeah, so then you have to pay capital gains tax on it, and you can be made to pay capital gains tax on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my approach is like, you know, you set up the trust, and then we start looking at.
Is it expensive to set up the trust?
Now, to set up the trust depends on the providers that you go for. So we do it as a fixed fee package. So we just charge one fee to set up your trust and everything, the documents, all of that.
Yeah.
And then it's done. And then you do have like ongoing costs, like for example, accounting.
Yes.
Because, you know, trusts have to do like a tax return every year. And if you're doing investments and other things, you might have to prepare like financial statements and all of this. So for example, we can help you set up the trust and then work with your accountant who does the ongoing like maintenance, like your tax returns, everything. And if you're distributing money, then there'll be documents you need to do for that as well. Yeah, so it's like the initial cost and then the accounting and maintenance costs going forward.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So that's it for today.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, thank you viewers, wherever you're watching us from. Welcome again to Oz Kenya Talk Show. We have a lot in the cup. We have a lot on the basket. A lot of inspiration, a lot of education, a lot of engaging and connecting. Thanks a lot for our guest again tonight here. That is Peter.
No, thank you.
Yes, yes. And maybe you can tell our viewers where they can reach you. Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, so me, I'm always available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, always there. Also, we do have our website, so muzeripenny.com.au. And so on there, it's got my contact details, my email address, which is just peter@muzeripenny.com.au. So I'm very easy to reach. My number's on there, so you can contact me anytime. And I post on Facebook as well, a bit on some groups, so yeah.
Yeah,
I can always be reachable.
that's good. That's good. If you're a community group, you can invite Peter to talk and educate you more as we continue creating sensitization and education to our community. Thanks a lot, Peter, and thanks a lot to
Thank
all.
you.
Welcome again.
Appreciate being here.
All right, thank you. Forward looking you soon. Thank you.